Alright, the third episode of Hawkeye has been released, so now I talk about Hawkeye episode 3, titled Echoes. Spoiler alert, as per usual, when I talk about TV episodes, I talk about spoilers, so you've been warned if you have not watched this episode yet. Don't watch this video. You've been warned, so let's go. This episode to me was certainly the best one yet. I actually thought it was pretty kick-ass. Of course, it being called Echoes, we're gonna get a lot of focus on the character Echo. So let's learn about this character. I mean, she is gonna get her own spin-off series after all, so let's see what makes her tick. This episode starts off with a little bit about her past. We meet her father, who seems like a pretty nice guy. We see, alright, she and her dad share a close bond. And then we see Maya Lopez growing up. She's taking up boxing. And actually, this is really interesting. We see that Echo has a prosthetic leg. I looked into it. That is actually Alaqua Cox's real prosthetic leg. Yeah, I didn't know that. I don't know if Echo has a prosthetic leg in the comics, but the actress Alaqua Cox does. So they left that in and they made that a part of Echo's character. That's really cool. I mean, later on, she uses that prosthetic leg to knock out Hawkeye's hearing aid. So yeah, I guess she puts it to good use. But I guess it turns out that Maya Lopez and her father were always part of this tracksuit mafia. And so during the blip, Clint Barton, while he was the Ronin taking down this mafia, he killed Maya Lopez's father. You see him just impale him. You're like, holy shit. And you see Maya Lopez cradling her father in her arms, and I was like, oh, okay. Straight up, I was like, really, it was the little dragon thing that drove it home for me. But then I was like, oh, alright. Now this character Echo has a personal tie to Clint Barton. Although she doesn't know it yet, Clint Barton killed her father. And so now we see her in present day and she is pissed. She has a really good pissed off face because that is one facial expression I would not cross, lest I want to get kicked in the face. So when she comes out and she confronts Clint and Kate, Echo wants to know about the Ronin since the Ronin has apparently returned. As we saw last week, Clint says the Ronin is dead. And actually, I like this detail. Echo asks who killed him, and Clint says Natasha Romanoff. Yeah, read his lips. He actually says her name. I like this detail because in a way, he's right. We remember the scene in Avengers Endgame when Natasha Romanoff confronted Clint in Tokyo. She was the one who convinced him to come back to the Avengers. Clint was never the Ronin again after that. So in a way, yeah, Natasha Romanoff did kill the Ronin. I think that's a really cool detail. But then eventually Clint does break out of his pathetic duct tape bonds because the tracksuit mafia goons are incompetent. And here's where we get to our first really cool badass Hawkeye action scene in the series. Cause for the next 15 minutes we get nothing but badass action. First off, seeing Echo fight was really cool. Cause apparently Alaqua Cox did all of that. That was actually her doing her own stunts. I read that somewhere. I'm not sure if it's actually true, but I wouldn't doubt it. And she is really skilled too. When she's just going to town kicking Hawkeye, I was like, damn. Yep, that's pretty much what I was expecting. Pretty cool. And this is where she knocks out Hawkeye's hearing aid, which was really smart of her, so she's a tactician too. Clever girl. But then seeing Hawkeye himself doing some badass stunts, that was really cool too. I mean, when he jumps off and he does that, his arrow snips that Kazi guy's ear and breaks Kate out of her duct tape bonds. I was like, yeah, the guy just has perfect aim. He is Legolas. And then this leads to the car chase scene, the one that we saw the clip of in the Disney Plus Day clip that they showed us. If you watched that Disney Plus Day Marvel special, that rock cover of the Nutcracker starts playing. Love that tune. And dude, the trick arrows, oh my god, I love this. Cause yeah, we've seen Hawkeye's trick arrows before. You know, in Civil War, he had the net arrow. But here, it gets pretty crazy. Like the putty arrow, I was like, that's cool. The gas arrow was really cool. Of course, the coolest one, we all know what it is. Yeah. Holy shit, who saw that coming? He's like, alright Kate, shoot your arrow up, and I'm gonna perfectly aim my Pym arrow at it, and it's gonna grow huge and hit the car. I was like, dude. I was actually watching this episode with a friend of mine. We were both like, let's rewind that and watch that again. And we did, and it was great. My question though is, when did he make a deal with Hank Pym or Scott Lang to get that arrow made? I want to know the story behind that arrow, cause that was just badass. So now, Kate Bishop and Clint Barton have to communicate without Clint Barton's hearing aid to help him out. Meaning she can hear him, but he can't hear her. Although if you notice, they do tend to be on the same page about things. Like when Kate says, oh, we should walk the dog, he's been cooped up all day. And then Clint pretty much says the exact same thing back to her. It shows that, yeah, they are thinking in the same way. They have similar thought processes. That does help when bonding with someone. Also, I thought it was really, really sweet when she helped him out with his phone call. Yeah, Clint's youngest son, Nate, calls him on the phone, but he can't hear him. So Kate helps him out by writing down and showing him what his son is saying. Once again, I was like, I'm feeling this because it's, dude, how can you not feel this scene?
I'm all toasty inside.
So later on, when Kate and Clint are walking the dog, Clint actually mentions that in this tracksuit mafia, there is someone above Maya in the hierarchy. He uses the pronoun him, so we know it's a man. This uncle figure who we actually see briefly in the prologue about Echo's past. And of course, a lot of people are like, dude, it's Vincent D'Onofrio, Kingpin. I will say that does look like his figure for sure. I'm not gonna deny that. Yeah, sure, there is a possibility that that is Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin from the Netflix Daredevil series. But again, I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. I'm not. I can't, because I just don't want to go down that Mephisto rabbit hole again. I've learned my lesson. Hell, I haven't even watched Daredevil Season 3. I guess I should, huh? So later on, Kate is talking about we should get evidence on Jack Duquesne. And I was like, oh yeah, the whole Eleanor and Jack thing. That's not even really touched on in this episode. Vera Farmiga's not even in this episode. But Kate's like, yeah, Jack is an asshole. We need more evidence, so let's break into my mom's place. All right. And so they're snooping around as Kate Bishop tends to do. And sure enough, they are caught by Jack Duquesne, the swordsman. Yeah, I actually forgot that this Jack character is based off of a villain from the comics, the swordsman. Although it totally makes sense given that he has that Three Musketeers mustache. But I'll admit, the fact that that's where this episode decided to cut off, it felt really anticlimactic. Yeah, this episode was pretty short comparatively speaking to the other ones. When it cut to black, I was like, wait, that's it? The episode ended in the middle of a scene. It just felt kind of strange to me, that's all. But in the end, I thought this episode was still the best one yet. The action scenes were completely badass. Echo is a really cool character. I find it interesting that she's starting off as an antagonist, but I imagine since she's gonna get her own series later, she's gonna turn good, I guess, somehow. I don't know. We still haven't seen Yelena Belova yet. I am wondering how she's gonna fit into this whole story, especially since we're halfway through now. I'm hoping she doesn't seem completely out of left field and shoehorned into this series. I hope it's woven into the story in a good way. I guess we'll see what happens. So, the third episode of Hawkeye titled Echoes. Have you watched it yet? What do you think about it? What are your thoughts on the character Echo? And are you also concerned about Yelena Belova's entrance into this series? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some Hanukkah candles to light. And to all my Jewish friends out there, I'd like to wish you a very happy 4th night of Hanukkah. Peace!